Welcome to University Instructors Module, The Science of Reading, Part 1, Phonemic Awareness. We value your time and appreciate your active participation during this module. Here are a few suggested learning norms to make the most of your time with us. Work in an environment with as few distractions as possible so that you can engage and reflect. Take notes and jot down ideas and questions as needed. And finally, use this time wisely to ensure your professional learning with university instructors is productive. Our agenda for this module includes learning objectives, an introduction and discussion regarding the 5 pillars of literacy, phonemic awareness, letters and their sounds, implementing strategies for teaching phonemic awareness, and in summary, closing and additional resources. By the end of this session, participants will be able to describe the difference between phonemes and phonemic awareness, identify examples of early, basic, and advanced phonemic awareness activities, recognize 44 phonemes and 26 letters in the English alphabet, and be able to identify single consonant and vowel sounds, digraphs, R-controlled vowels, and vowel diphthongs, and develop phonemic awareness teaching strategies. The science of reading is a vast body of research from multiple disciplines, including cognitive psychology, neuroscience, education, and linguistics, that explains how the brain learns to read. It emphasizes that reading is not a natural process, but instead a skill that must be explicitly taught. The science of reading helps educators use evidence-based practices to improve literacy outcomes for all students, especially those who struggle with reading. Every day in the United States, school district leaders are coming to the realization that the way we've been teaching reading needs to change. According to the nation's report card, only 33% of 4th grade students and 31% of 8th grade students performed at or above proficiency level in reading in 2022. While this is the case, we know that 95% of our students are capable of learning to read proficiently when they're taught with a curriculum that's based on the science of reading. As we know, the science of reading term represents decades of gold standard research that shows us the science behind how the human brain learns how to read. The 5 pillars of reading instruction, also known as the 5 pillars of early literacy, are a set of key components developed by the National Reading Panel, essential for reading proficiency. These pillars include phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. Each of these components plays a crucial role in the development of strong reading skills, and educators who understand and effectively teach these pillars are increasing the chances that their students will learn how to read proficiently. The 5 pillars of literacy are first, phonemic awareness. That's the ability to hear and manipulate individual phonemes. Phonics is the understanding of the relationship between phonemes and graphemes. Fluency is the ability to read text accurately, quickly, and with expression. Vocabulary is the body of words used within a particular language. And comprehension is the ability to understand and gain meaning from what has been read. All of these pillars are interconnected. For example, strong phonemic awareness contributes to the development of the other 4 pillars. Some students, and many poor readers, do not easily acquire phonemic awareness. When struggling with reading or spelling, they may not understand what the teacher means when she says, "What sound does it begin with?" Or even more difficult when she asks, What vowel sound do you hear in the middle? They don't understand because they don't perceive individual sounds. They hear the words but are not aware of the phonemes. For these learners, the teacher may as well be speaking a foreign language. It's not enough to memorize the sounds that the letters represent if a learner can't make use of that knowledge because he or she doesn't perceive the individual sounds in the word. How can a struggling reader blend the sounds and recognize the word if their brain doesn't process the individual sounds? For this reader, the string of sounds doesn't automatically translate to a whole word. Similarly, how can a writer sound out a spoken word to guess at its spelling if he or she doesn't hear those sounds? Phonemic awareness allows readers to use phonics to identify words while reading and to spell words as they write. Let's watch a video clip from reading expert Linda Farrell. And as you watch, consider the following. How does identifying the specific problem that a struggling reader is facing influence our teaching approach? And what impact might students face if they are not given the time and space to achieve mastery?
Worked with today were children that often puzzle teachers. And the teachers, well, they're in second grade and they're having trouble reading short vowel words. And they're in kindergarten and they don't know their letters and it's the end of the year. What's really hopeful for me about this is that it is the rare struggling reader that we can't figure out what to do and then teach them. The real trick is figuring out specifically what their problem is. Not he can't read multisyllable words, but he guesses a multisyllable word, but he's fine at short vowels. Okay, now I know, all right, he can read multisyllable words. I just have to teach him how. He doesn't know his letter names and he's in kindergarten and we've worked with the letter V 100 times. Well, it might take 500 times. But here's the thing we figured out. The problem with letter V went back to not being able to retrieve the sound V, the name of the letter, because it wasn't in the letter song. If we can find out the specific problem, we can go back to the basics, and whatever the most basic problem is, we can fix that. What's really wonderful as a reading specialist who gets to work with lots of different students, sometimes it takes a lot of time. And that happens, the kids learn to read eventually. But sometimes you fix one little problem and the whole thing falls together. The trick is finding what they need and starting there. No matter the student's age, if I get a student who has trouble with G and J in third grade, that's where I start, with G and J. I start at the lowest level. And that's what we've got to be able to do, is pinpoint problems, practice them, and practice those problems to mastery. Because the reason the student isn't learning is because they haven't learned something to mastery. And every one of these students can be very strong readers.
After watching the video, let's discuss the questions. How does identifying the specific problem that a struggling reader has influence our teaching approach? By knowing what the foundational issue is, we can start addressing that skill first. Only then will we be able to build fluency. The second question, what impact might students face if they are not given the time and space to achieve mastery? Students will continue to struggle with reading and potentially fall further and further behind in the development of their fluency and comprehension skills. Weak phonemic awareness is the most common reason students struggle with reading, writing, and spelling. It is also one of the early identifiers of dyslexia. So, what do we mean when we refer to phonemic awareness and/or phonemes? Phonemic awareness is the ability to notice, think about, and work with the individual sounds or phonemes in spoken words. This includes blending sounds into words, segmenting words into sounds, and deleting and playing with the sounds in spoken words. Before children learn to read print, they need to become aware of how the sounds in words work. They must understand that words are made up of speech sounds, or phonemes. Phonemes are the smallest parts of sound in a spoken word that make a difference in the word's meaning. For example, changing the first phoneme in the word hat from the sound h to the sound p changes the word from hat to pat, and therefore changes the meaning of the word. A letter between slash marks shows the phoneme or sound that that letter represents, and not the name of the letter. For example, the letter H represents the sound. Phonemic awareness is the first step to reading success for all learners and underpins many of the foundational reading skills, including spelling, including reading, and including overall fluency. Phonemic awareness supports spelling, as students need to be able to perceive all the sounds in a word before they can spell the word. If a student leaves out a sound or a letter in a word, that's an indicator that they need more phonemic awareness support. Phonemic awareness is also necessary for reading because when students blend the sounds together, they must be able to recognize the whole word for its individual sounds. Students who say the correct letter sounds but then blend them incorrectly would also benefit from phonemic awareness practice. Lastly, and most importantly, phonemic awareness helps our brains to automatically recognize the words that we see by subconsciously pairing the individual sounds to the letter or letters that represent them after several exposures. The brain automatically recognizes the word without sounding it out, and this helps to build a student's overall fluency. Children can show us that they do have phonemic awareness in several ways, including recognizing which words in a set of words begins with the same sound, or the initial sound, sometimes we call it. For example, bell, bike, and boy all begin with the initial B sound. Isolating and saying the first or the last sound in a word. The beginning sound of dog is D. The ending sound of sit is T. And combining or blending the separate sounds in a word to say the word. For example, plus plus p equals map. Breaking or segmenting a word into its separate sounds. For example, the word up can be segmented into the sounds and p. Students develop phonemic awareness in a specific sequence. The first stage of development is the recognition of initial phonemes, or the beginning sound in a word. Next, students will learn to recognize the ending sounds, or the final phonemes in the word. Students then learn to identify the middle vowel sound or the medial sound in words. And finally, students identify the individual sounds represented by consonant blends at the beginning or end of words. Phonemic awareness refers to oral language, and phonics refers to print. For example, a child who knows letter sounds but cannot blend the sounds to form the whole word has a phonemic awareness issue. Conversely, a child who can orally blend sounds with ease but mixes up vowel letter sounds, reading pit for pet and set for sit, has a phonics gap. A good rule of thumb is that phonemic awareness is mostly oral, while phonics deals with the letters or the print that you can see. Letters are written symbols that represent the individual sounds or phonemes in spoken language. This relationship allows readers to decode words by sounding them out and helps writers encode words by spelling them based on how they sound. A strong grasp of the letter-sound relationship is essential for phonics instruction and supports the development of reading fluency and comprehension. This quote by Marilyn Adams refers to the two most important early skills a child needs to become a successful reader. First, alphabet recognition, or being able to quickly name and identify letters, both uppercase and lowercase. And second, phonemic awareness, the ability to hear, identify, and work with the individual sounds or phonemes in spoken words. When children can recognize letters and understand how spoken words are made up of sounds, they are well prepared to learn phonics, to decode words, and to develop reading fluency. Adams emphasizes that these two skills are strong early indicators of later reading achievement. There are 44 distinct sounds in the English language, while there are more than 200 ways to represent those 44 sounds. There are 25 consonant phoneme sounds and 19 vowel phoneme sounds. A little confusing, right? Understanding that words are made up of sounds is not very intuitive. We don't hear the individual sounds in words when we say them. We hear the words spoken as a unit. Since hearing individual sounds in a word is not necessarily automatic, we must explicitly teach students the skills that they need. Similarly, in order to spell words, we must be able to segment or take apart sounds in words. A phoneme is when one consonant or vowel represents a single sound. An example, f is a single consonant phoneme, as in fish. A digraph is a combination of two letters that represent a single sound, or phoneme, in the English language. Digraphs are essential for reading and writing in English because they represent sounds that are not always predictable from their individual letters. A vowel digraph example, ow, as in cow. A split vowel digraph example, I, as in kite. And a consonant digraph example, ch, as in child. R-controlled vowels, or sometimes called the bossy R vowels, occur when a vowel is followed by the letter R, which changes the vowel's sound. The R influences the vowel so that it is neither pronounced as a long nor a short vowel. Example, the UR sound, makes the same sound as the ER sound, as in hurt. Understanding R-controlled vowels is essential because they're common in English and they can change the way words are decoded and spelled. The sounds are typically taught after students have a solid grasp of short and long vowel sounds, usually toward the end of first grade. Vowel diphthongs, also known as gliding vowels, are complex vowel sounds that start with one vowel sound and glide into another within the same syllable. Unlike a single vowel sound, diphthongs involve noticeable change within the syllable. The most common diphthong is the AU sound, ow, as in owl. Pronouncing each of the 44 phonemes correctly is extremely important when providing reading instruction. Let's take a look at the correct way to pronounce the phonemes in the following video. After you finish, feel free to watch the video again and practice with the presenter.
Hi, I'm Yvette, a facilitator at the Rollins Center for Language and Literacy. You probably already know the English language has very distinct sounds, or phonemes, that we combine in different ways to make words. In this video, we are going to demonstrate how to pronounce each of the individual phonemes. Often, we accidentally add an extra or schwa sound to the end of consonants. If students hear this and imitate it, it may then be reflected in later reading and writing tasks. To prevent this, it is important to produce only the phoneme itself without any additional sounds. An example of this is the sound p. Sometimes, when teachers are trying to emphasize or isolate a phoneme, they say p. Instead, focus on producing just the phoneme itself. We'll start with the consonant phonemes. You'll see the associated letter or letter combination, also known as a grapheme, on the screen as I say the sound. Ready? Here we go. B as in banana. D as in dinosaur. F as in fish. G as in guitar. H as in hand. J as in jelly. K as in car. U as in leaf. M as in Monday. N as in nail. Ng as in the end of the word sing. P as in pumpkin. R as in rain. S as in sun. Z as in the middle of treasure. T as in turtle. V as in volcano. W as in watch. Y as in yo-yo. Z as in zip. Some graphemes, such as Q and X, are composed of two phonemes. For example, Q makes the qu sound, and X makes the x sound. The next phonemes are considered to be digraphs, where two letters make one sound. Ch as in child. Sh as in shoes. V as in the middle of mother. Th as in third. Make sure students hear you pronounce phonemes correctly. You're modeling the language that they need to independently decode and write words. Just like the consonants, the English language has a wide variety of vowel phonemes with their own distinct sounds. I'll model each sound, and the grapheme will be shown on the screen below. A as in the first sound in apple. E as in the first sound in elephant. I as in the first sound in igloo. A as in the first sound in octopus. As in the first sound in umbrella. A as in the middle sound in rain. A as in the final sound in saw. E as in the final sound in tree. I as in the middle sound in light. O as in the middle sound in boat. U as in the first sound in uniform. U as in the middle sound in mood. As in the middle sound in book. Ow as in the final sound in cow. Oi as in the final sound in boy. There are also R-controlled vowels, such as R, as in the final sound in car. As in the middle sounds in herd, bird, and surf. Air, as in the final sound in chair. Ear, as in the final sound in spear. Or, as in the middle sound in fork. Sometimes, when a vowel sound is located in the unstressed syllable of a word, it becomes a schwa. An example of this is the that you hear as in the first sound of the word again. Make sure that your students hear you model the correct consonant and vowel phonemes. This will help them produce the correct sounds themselves, and in turn, guide them as they learn to read and write.
So how do you decide what sounds to teach and when? Begin with sounds that can be held for as long as you have breath. These sounds are called continuous sounds, and they're easier for students to blend in segment sounds like and s. Once students are successful with blending and segmenting continuous sounds, you can introduce what we call stop sounds. Stop sounds are sounds that you cannot extend, such as b, t, and p. It's important to say the sounds carefully, and you don't add or the schwa sound to the end of the stop sound. For example, if you pronounce the phoneme b as buh instead of the quick buh, it confuses students and makes it harder for them to read and to spell. Remember, one letter does not always equal one sound. Some sounds are represented by 2 or more letters, and some letters such as Q and X can represent 2 different sounds. It is harder to hear all the phonemes in some words than in others. Phonemes in some words are just harder to perceive. Students usually find it easiest to perceive the beginning sound, then the ending sound, and then finally the middle sound in a word. It is easier to segment phonemes in words with fewer phonemes. Continuous sounds like the F, L, M, N sound that can be said for a long time are easier to perceive than those stop sounds, B, D, Q, and H, that cannot be said for any length of time. Take a few moments to rank these 8 tasks for students by the level of difficulty, with the easiest task ranked as a level 1 and the hardest task as a level 8. Go ahead and pause this video and resume it when you're ready to review the responses together. So let's check our responses. The first sound that would be the easiest for students is tell me the first sound you hear in the word fin. It's often very easy for students to find the initial or the first sound because this is how students learn their sounds. They learn the first sounds in a word and then the last, and the medial sounds are often a bit more difficult to learn. The second level of difficulty would be tell me the last sound you hear in the word stop, because the last sound in any word is usually fairly easy for students to hear, but it's still harder to perceive than the first sound in a word. So the second level of difficulty is the word stop. Since students can usually perceive the middle sound after they hear the beginning and the ending sound of a word, the next level, the third level of difficulty, would be tell me the middle sound in the word map. Levels 4 and 5 are a little harder to differentiate. In both of the words Sam and bit, we hear 3 phonemes. However, the first and last phoneme in the word bit, b, and t, are stop sounds that can't be stretched out easily. The S and M in the word Sam are continuous sounds that can be stretched out. Therefore, Sam comes in at number 4 and bit comes in at number 5. In 6th place, with regard to level of difficulty, the word prep has 4 phonemes. So it's easier to segment than words with more phonemes, but harder than words with fewer phonemes. At number 7, the word stretch has 5 phonemes. So it's easier than words with more phonemes, but harder again than words with fewer phonemes. And finally, number 8, the word splint has 6 phonemes. So this word is harder to segment than the words that have fewer phonemes before it. So let's take a minute to assess what we've learned. For each of these 9 words, jot down how many phonemes you hear in each word. Star, stump, fox, they, shack, light, split, past, and quilt. Feel free to stop the video and restart it when you've had your information recorded. So let's check and see how you did. In the word star, there are 3 phonemes because the AR makes one sound together, so it's st-r. In the word stump, there are 5 phonemes, as each letter in that word stump stands for one sound. The word fox has 4 phonemes, as the letter X represents 2 different sounds, the k and the s sound. In the word they, there are 3 phonemes, as the digraph th stands for one phoneme. Shack, the digraphs sh and k each stand for only one sound, so shack has 3 phonemes. The word light also has 3 phonemes because in this word, IGH stands for one phoneme, I. In the word split, there are 5 phonemes as each letter represents its own individual phoneme. Past, in this word, the ED ending represents one phoneme, the phoneme T. So past has 4 separate phonemes. And the word quilt has 5 phonemes because QU represents 2 different sounds, the K and the W. So how did you do? Instructional strategies that promote phonemic awareness should be taught explicitly, systematically, and in short, engaging sessions. Mastery of phonemic awareness prepares students for effective phonics instruction and reading success. Reading with your ears? What if we told you that you could improve your students' ability to read unfamiliar words without showing them a single printed letter? As crazy as it sounds, it's true. This is because one of the major skills underlying the successful decoding of printed words, phonemic awareness, is a purely auditory and oral skill. It may not actually be reading with your ears in the literal sense, but the sounds we hear and play with words are what allows us to ultimately pull the print off the page with our eyes when we decode. There are 6 phonemic awareness skills. Notice that the skills are listed at different levels, and that's because some phonemic awareness skills are more difficult than others. Isolation is the simplest level at the bottom, followed by blending, segmentation, addition, deletion, and substitution. Next, we'll explore each stage of phonemic awareness instruction in additional detail. Hearing and isolating the individual phonemes or sounds in spoken words represents the first layer of skilled phonemic awareness. This is called phoneme isolation. Isolating phonemes entails knowing that a word is made up of a sequence of sounds and that individual sounds in words can be differentiated from one another. Beginning sound isolation activities are a great way to help students develop their phoneme isolation skills. Beginning sound isolation is simply pulling the first sound off a spoken word, so students can isolate the first sounds in words, as in B in the word bear or S in the word soap. This particular phoneme isolation activity asks that students work in pairs, taking turns removing objects randomly from a box. The student removing the item from the box says the name of the item and identifies the first sound. So in this activity, you'd place the box of objects on a flat surface. And then working in pairs, student 1 selects an object from the box and shows the object. Student 2 names the object and says its initial sound. For example, a domino would be D, and the object is then placed to the side. Continue until all objects and their initial sounds are identified, and students can evaluate each other through peer evaluation. For extensions and adaptations, say the final sound of each object instead of the initial sound, or count the number of syllables of each object. When working with the see it, sound it activity on the prior slide, students are only identifying the sound, but we know phonemic awareness instruction is more powerful when we match sounds to letters. It's also important to know that students don't need to know all the sounds before they begin matching letters to the sounds. You can start this when they're learning their first few initial sounds. Elkonin boxes, or otherwise known as sound boxes, help students build phonemic awareness. Elkonin boxes are a simple set of boxes that are the same shape and size, whereby each box represents a separate phoneme. As you watch the following video clip, identify the strategies used by the teacher to help her students match the sounds of words to their letters.
An effective small group activity for building phonemic awareness is the use of Elkonin sound boxes.
We've been working on breaking apart and putting together phonemes, or the individual sounds that we hear in each word. Okay? So first we're going to say the word. Next we're going to hold up one finger for each sound that we hear in the word. Then we're going to touch and move the chips for each sound that we hear in the word. We're going to touch each chip and say the sounds that we hear. And then we're going to read the whole word while tracking with our finger. I'm going to do an example first. So the word is saw. I'm going to say the word saw. I'm going to hold up a finger for each sound I hear. Saw. I'm going to touch and move the chips for each sound I hear. Saw. I'm going to touch each chip as I say the sounds in saw. Saw. I use my finger to track and read the word saw. Can you try that with me? So your first word is T. Say T.
T.
Hold up one finger for each sound you hear in T.
E.
Touch your chips and move them as you say each sound you hear in T.
E.
Touch each chip and say the sounds in the word.
E.
And use your finger to track and read the word.
T.
Good job. All right. The next word, go ahead and clear your chips. The next word we're going to do is sun. Say sun.
Sun.
Say each sound in sun and hold up one finger for each sound you hear.
On.
Go ahead and move a chip for each sound that you hear in sun. You're going to touch each chip and say the sounds you hear in the word sun.
On.
Use your finger to track and read the word sun.
Sun.
So now we're going to do the same things, okay, but instead of using chips, we're going to be using our letter magnets, okay? So we've been working on breaking apart and putting together phonemes, or the individual sounds that we hear in each word. So first, we're going to say our word. Next, we're going to hold up one finger for each sound that we hear in that word. Then we're going to move a magnet letter for each sound that we hear into our sound boxes. Then we're going to touch each letter and sound the word. Then we're going to read our word using our tracking finger. Okay? I'll do an example first. Okay? Can I borrow your board? Okay. So the first word that I'm going to do is mop. So I'm going to say mop. Mop. I'll hold up one finger for each sound I hear in the word mop. I'm going to move the letters into my sound boxes as I say the sounds. I'm going to touch each letter and say each sound. Then I'm going to read my word using my tracking finger. Mop. You ready? First word is fin. I saw a shark fin in the water. Can you say fin?
Fin.
Hold up one finger for each sound that you hear in the word fin.
N.
Move your letter magnets into your sound boxes for each sound that you hear in Finn.
N.
Touch each letter magnet and say the sounds that you hear in the word Finn.
N.
Use your finger to track and read your whole word.
Fin.
All right, go ahead and move your magnets. Your last word is sit. I'm going to sit at this table. Sit. Can you say sit?
Sit.
Can you hold up one finger for each sound in the word sit?
It.
And move your letter magnets into your sound boxes for each letter or sound in the word sit.
It.
Touch each letter magnet and say the sounds in the word sit.
It.
Use your finger to track and read the word sit.
Sit.
All right, good job. Thank you for working with me today, friends.
As you can see in the video, Elkonin boxes help make abstract sounds concrete and visual, building the foundation for decoding and spelling. Some of the strategies utilized by the teacher included an explicit systematic routine whereby students repeat the word. Students hold up one finger for each sound they heard in that word. That's called sound segmentation. Students put a chip down for each sound that they hear, and they progress from the chip to the actual letter magnets. Students touch each chip or magnet and say the sound that letter makes, and then students use their finger to track and read the word. You'll also notice a lot of guided practice and teacher modeling. The teacher modeled the process aloud, showing students how to place a marker for each sound, and it was very evident that the gradual release model was used. The I do, we do, and you do. Onset and rhyme are used to improve phonological awareness by helping students learn about word families. Onset is the initial consonant sound, digraph, or blend that comes before a vowel sound. Rhyme includes the vowel and all consonant sounds that follow it. For example, in the word bug, B is the onset, ug is the rhyme. Moving up the pyramid, we start with phoneme isolation and we're now at blending. That's a slightly more complex phonemic awareness skill. Phoneme blending is basically combining sounds and involves listening to and pulling together isolated phonemes to create words. This process requires a student to hold the individual elements in his or her mind as the word is created, thus challenging a student's active working memory. When beginning readers sound out a word, they use letter sound knowledge to say each sound in a word, a, t, and then blend the sounds quickly together to read the word mat. When we look at blending onset and rhyme, onset is the in mat. Rhyme is at in mat. In this blending phonemes activity, students blend sounds into words and match to the corresponding picture. In the first step of this activity, the teacher sets up the listening center and provides each student with an answer sheet. Student listens to the media player, and after a word has been segmented, the student turns off the media player, blends the sounds together, and finds the picture of the word. The student will write the number 1 in the box next to the picture. Then the student would continue with the second word, would identify the word, locate the picture, and write number 2 in that box. This continues until all pictures are identified. It's important to include a self-check answer key with this activity. The third layer in the pyramid is phoneme segmentation. Segmentation is the ability to divide a spoken word into its component sounds or phonemes. In a segmentation activity, students are given a word like mat, and then they must segment it or stretch the phonemes. T. As they are saying these three sounds, they can extend a single finger for every phoneme that they hear, starting with the thumb, extending the index finger with a, and extending the middle finger for t. Lastly, they blend the phonemes together as they bring their hands back to their chest or their fists and say the word mat. In segmenting onset and rhyme in the word mat, again, M is the onset and at is the rhyme. Activity 3, called Say and Slide Phonemes, is where students orally segment words using counters and Elkonin boxes. Step 1, place picture cards face up in a stack and place chips on a flat surface. Step 2, by working in pairs, student 1 selects the top card, names the picture, and then orally segments the sounds. For example, if the picture was of a piece of cheese, the child would say cheese and segment the sounds ch, e, z. The second student repeats those sounds and then moves a chip into each box and says the word quickly, cheese. Students reverse roles and continue until all pictures are named and segmented. This is another example of peer evaluation. Let's take a look at an example of segmenting onset and rhyme in the following video clip.
Nice job. Okay, now we're going to work on segmenting our onset and rhyme. So our onset is still our small square and our rhyme is our small rectangle. So we're going to go ahead and put them together for the whole word. I'm going to say the word and then I'm going to segment them into their two parts. So my word is shell. Watch as I do this. Just watch the first time. Shell. My onset is sh. My rhyme, L. So I separate them apart. I'm segmenting them. Let's try them together. So go ahead and keep yours together. And now listen to my words. Repeat the word after me. My word is bell. Say bell.
Bell.
Onset. Rhyme.
L.
Good job. You pull them apart. Go ahead and put them back together. My word is well. Say well.
Well. L.
Good job. Back together. My word is tell.
Tell. L.
Good. Let's try another one. Put it back together. Okay, my word is vest.
Vest.
Show me.
S.
Good, Vivian. Okay, Maddox, I want you to show me with your manipulative. Are you ready? My word is vest. Say vest.
Vest.
Look at yours and show me how to segment it.
S.
Nice job. Okay, my word is west.
West. S.
Nice job. My word is test.
Test. S.
Beautiful. Nice job. Okay, my next word is nest.
Nest. S.
Nice job. I heard you. Okay, my word is pest.
Pest. S.
Let me hear that one again. Put it together. My word is pest.
Pest. S.
Okay, so I heard, did you hear a little puh? It's an unvoiced sound. So we don't want to feel it on our vocal cords. Say puh. Now let's try the word again. Are you ready? The word is pest.
Pest.
Now when you tell me the first sound, try popping your lips. Ready? And the rhyme? S. Good job. Okay, let's try the word chest.
Chest. S.
Good job.
For more information, please visit readinguniverse.org.
Truly refined phonemic awareness includes even more advanced skills like phoneme addition, deletion, and substitution, all three of which are considered phoneme manipulation. These are the top three layers of the pyramid. Phoneme manipulation is generally more challenging than segmenting and blending phonemes. Manipulation requires students to hold phonemes in their working memories long enough to isolate specific phonemes, add, delete, or substitute specific phonemes, and then blend the phonemes back together to form a new word. These types of activities are an excellent way to build refined phonemic awareness, particularly for students who may have already mastered phoneme segmentation and phoneme blending. Phoneme addition involves adding phonemes to a given word to produce a new word. For instance, starting with the word at and adding the phoneme to the beginning turns the word at into mat. Phoneme addition can be done with more complex words as well, starting with the word cat and adding the phoneme s at the beginning turns the word cat into scat. In Activity 4, Adding Phonemes, the instructor uses picture cards of objects that can have phonemes added to their words. For example, hold up a picture of a top and ask your students what is the new word if I add s to the beginning of the word top. S, top, stop. You can keep doing this with a variety of images. Conversely, starting with the word mat and deleting the beginning phoneme creates the new word at. A more complex example of phoneme deletion might include removing one phoneme from a two-sound blend. Starting with the word blast and deleting the initial phoneme b results in the new word last. In Activity 5, What's Left, students manipulate initial phonemes and match the new word to the picture. First, divide phoneme deletion picture cards by shape. Place the cards with circles face down in a stack on a flat surface. Place cards with triangles face up in rows. Taking turns, students select the top card from the stack and name the picture. They delete the initial phoneme and say the resulting word. For example, feet minus the f initial sound becomes eat. Find a picture that shows eating and keep the pair. Continue until all matches are made. This too can be evaluated through peer evaluation processes. Phoneme substitution, the most advanced of all the manipulation skills on our pyramid, requires that a student know how to both delete and add phonemes. In a phoneme substitution exercise, a student might be asked to drop the initial phoneme of in the word mat and replace it with p, making the new word pat. Another example is if a student was asked to drop the short I sound in kit and replace it with the long I sound. So when they do this, the word kit becomes kite. This is done through a few intricate steps that are performed automatically and without conscious thought for strong, fluent readers. These steps include recognizing the component parts of the known word, or segmenting that word into its phonemes, isolating a specific phoneme, deleting that phoneme, adding a new phoneme, and then blending the phonemes together to say the new word. Did you notice that these steps include every one of the lower 5 layers of the pyramid? That's right, phonemic substitution, our top layer, encompasses every single layer of the phonemic awareness pyramid. Even if one of those lower skills is weak, students will end up struggling to substitute phonemes. In Activity 6, Sound Changes, students manipulate phonemes in words to form new words. Step 1, the teacher needs to set up the listening center and provide students with a student sheet and a picture sheet. Students will cut apart the picture sheet and place pictures face up in rows. Students then put on headphones and listen to the directions on the media player. Example, the word is sock. Change s to r. The student says the new word and pauses the media player, i.e. the new word is rock. And the student then finds and places a picture of the new word next to the picture of the original word. This continues until the student sheet is completed. Students can then glue pictures to their student sheet and be provided with a self-check answer key. For extensions and adaptations, change a different phoneme in each picture and write the original and new word on paper. When calling students to line up, call them by the beginning sounds in their name, the vowel sounds in their name, or the ending sound in their name. For example, if your name starts with please come to the carpet. This is a great way of incorporating phonemic awareness throughout the school day. If you're waiting in the hallway, play I Spy. I spy things by their beginning sound, their vowel sound, or their ending sound. You could also spy things and say the sounds segmented into phonemes. For example, I spy something that has the sounds duh or. What is it? Use chants and songs that highlight phonemic awareness for morning greetings. You're going to get a special treat here as I used my early childhood singing voice. Please bear with me. What's the first sound? What's the first sound? In sunshine, in sunshine. S is the first sound. S is the first sound. In sunshine, in sunshine. So let's reflect for a moment on how phonemic awareness connects to reading, spelling, and vocabulary. People who can break apart words into sounds, recognize their identity, and put them back together again have the foundational skill for reading. Without phonemic awareness, students may be mystified by the print system and how it represents and connects to the spoken word. Students who lack phoneme awareness may not even know what is meant by the term sound. Students must be able to identify the beginning sounds in words and be able to separate the phoneme from other phonemes prior to understanding what each letter represents in those words. Phoneme awareness facilitates growth in printed word recognition, supporting the development of both spelling and reading. Readers with phonological processing weaknesses tend to be the poorest spellers. Teaching speech sounds explicitly and directly accelerates the alphabetic code, which supports spelling and reading. Phonemic awareness and memory are involved in the development of vocabulary through exposure to unfamiliar words and comparing them to known words, repeating and pronouncing words correctly, remembering words accurately so they can be retrieved and used, and differentiating words that sound similar so that their meanings can be contrasted. In this phonemic awareness module, we've described the difference between phonemes and phonemic awareness. We have identified examples of early, basic, and advanced phonemic awareness activities. We have recognized the 44 phonemes and 26 letters in the English alphabet, and we've developed some phonemic awareness teaching strategies. We hope that you've enjoyed this module on the science of reading, phonemic awareness. Please complete the Check for Understanding, the CFU, and the survey included in the Google Classroom. Thank you, and we look forward to providing continued support for your professional growth at university instructors.